Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com.
To be a spoon carver, I don't have to be an expert on wood. I don't have to be an expert on hatchets, tools, anything. I just know how to make good spoons. So here it is, this piece of persimmon. This is scarred up. It's been around, in a farmyard. And of course this end is rough, but it looks clear. I like persimmon. It's got kind of a little deviation there. I mean, if you learn to look at it, you can find where it's got issues. Of course, there's an issue there, but I think that there's a good spoon in there. So I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna quickly get this off. And if this had a better blade on it, we'd be quicker on it, but it'll do okay. If this blade were a little bit better, we'd have this off real quick. And I can see there's still, that dark line shows the check is going further down in there, but that's okay. You get rid of the heartwood anyway. So a regular utility spoon, a good length for that is, and that's got this almost imperceptible dimple there. So this isn't exactly clear, and here's a scar. So we'll see. The back side of this blade is about 12.5 inches. That gets us down into that. So I'm gonna, about a 12-inch is a good utility spoon. I'm selling to a public that they get a relationship with their spoon. I've heard a person actually say that, is that if you get a good kitchen tool, like any tool. Okay, now this wood from this lady's pasture, she must have had some kind of dry period or something, but a lot of her wood, right here there's this rim of dark. There was some kind of beetle that got in there, and I'll find weevils in there. Persimmon will bleed a dark sap. What I'll do is so it's got these issues. That's going to have to be in the side when I split it. That's going to be a problem. So that's going to tell me right away where I'm going to try to do the split. So this is not an ideal piece of wood, but we'll see. So I'm going to put this here, and I also have a bigger hatchet there I usually use for splitting, but I'm going to go ahead and use this. It's a small enough piece of wood. Go ahead and use this. So you can see that scar there. That's not going to be a bother right there. This wood's had some trauma. Persimmon is related to ebony, and when this tree gets injured and the sap runs, it turns black, which is pretty if it doesn't show up in a spot that's got a weevil hole or something in the business end of your spoon. So we'll find out. So this has got a little bit of torque to it also. You can see looking down at that kind of bends a little bit. So the spoon, as it dries, you can straighten that bend out, that warp, but when it dries, it'll as the grain goes, it'll kind of come back a little bit. It won't be enough to mess up your stirring, but just something to be aware of. So I'm going to eliminate, of course, that side mostly. The reason I'm going to work on this end is I see less of this streaking, so I'm hoping that there'll be less likelihood of surprising an old weevil hole. So I'll do this sort of thing, and it helps to guide it. And I'm going to talk about my safety as I go along. When I get further up here toward this hand, there are two things I'm going to do to keep from chopping my fingers up. Number one, I don't want to raise the hatchet blade higher than my hand. Number one, because even if you think no one's going to bump me, weird things happen.
Sure.
So, and the other thing I do, instead of coming down like that, when I want to get up close here to shear this down, is I'll come in sideways at it like this. I'll knock it like this. So, and I'll get my start by coming in sideways. So I'm not going to get my fingers, and I'm doing this. And then once I get a good start there, then I can kind of come in like that. Now, see, there's that little bump there, and there's the corresponding injury. We'll see. All those little black spots is kind of nice because it's telling us that, and there is where a branch, actual little branch came. So what I'll do in that case, I'll see if it disappears in a jiffy. If it not, then I'll just take the saw. Yeah, it's just gone. I don't like having the grain be real irregular near the tip of the spoon because that's where stressors will come. So, well, this is, as I say, I've got my measure board here. This is 12 and a half, so it's 12 inches is really, really nice. So I'm just going to take that off right here and now. About the midpoint of the spoon, I'm going to imagine this is about the midway point. So I put a mark there, and middle of the handle about here. I'll take the saw and use it for my straight edge and line it up. So this is why my first spoon is all over the place. You know, the wood just fought back and did what it wanted. But I'm making a tool that I want to be more or less symmetrical, and so then I'll draw the, and when it dries it's going to shrink this way. The wood won't shrink this way, but it's going to shrink this way. So just allowing for that. It's a sloppy little picture. And there. And to make a smaller spoon, you get a smaller branch because you know there's no sense to spending the time to remove a bunch of wood. Just try to think of using it economically. So that's more or less the way the bowl will be. I'm going to make allowance for more than that because, you know, if I have a misfire, I don't want to have it get shorter and shorter. So then set the blade in there and then bounce it. And it pretty well cuts it like that. And then I'll set the blade again and bounce it. So, and I don't have to worry whether it's, you know, squared off perfectly, but there, I'll do that anyway. Okay, and then to get this, since this is a smaller spoon, I can do it this way by chopping in like that. There's that way, and then it'll flake off there. And I get closer up towards where my fingers are. I'll clear it off. What I do this is a fresh board I built for this because I just about chopped through the other one. When I start a new board, I'll chop a spot out. So I'll keep my fingers curled up here, and when I get up to this point, I'll be a little careful because you can screw up your design real quickly. So there's this way. I'll bring it in slowly, and when I get a good spot, I'll take the hatchet, and although I'm bringing it down a little bit, it's got the weight, the momentum, but I'll do the slap cut at the same time like this because you can hear it hit sideways. The side of the cheek of this thing is going to hit. It's going to help it guide it down into where you want it to go. So it's not about just really great aim, but and I'm being pretty careful. I get right down to that, and then I'll leave it alone for a little bit. Now, that's a weevil hole there. I think that's going to disappear with the design. We're hoping so. And what I'm learning about this wood from her is that when I see that, I've lost 2 spoons making because they came at places in the bowl that were irrecoverable, irredeemable. No, you're not doing this, chicken. And then to clean this up, I'll do that sort of slap cut coming in at an angle so it doesn't do that splitting effect. Get out of here. And at the diagonal and slap cut down and clean that up. And then when it's like that, then I'll just do a slap cut like this, and that's clear. That's clear enough. And then here I'm doing slap cut because I don't have any momentum going this way. And you're the only one that can know whether you're telling the truth or not. But you better be telling the truth. So you do a slap cut here to nibble that down. And then I'm doing this sideways, so it goes like that. And then I'll turn that away. Yeah. Okay, now we'll get to see if this is a ruined spoon or not, to see what that's doing. So I'm going to do a little bit of this where I want it to go in, and I'll take it down, slap, kind of a sideways thing, not just slamming away. I'm trying to control this. I want to get right there. I'm not satisfied with the profile of this. I've got trifocals, new trifocals in them. Sometimes I don't know what I'm looking at. And that's still a pretty fat handle. We can work with that. So I'm going to, let's see now. Yeah. Okay, so to get that to flatten out, and it's going to, the grain, you know, if I try to cut it this way, it's going to go with the grain. It's going to just want to just keep taking it off. So I can hold this like this and do that diagonal cut, slap cut kind of like this, and I'm just cut into it like so, as close to the end as I can get, and then get on the flat. If I keep it up over this open thing and don't support this some, it may just bust off the side. So I'm going to put this here and keep it at the diagonal. And that pretty well flattened. And it also shows that I got it kind of wumper jawed. So I can straighten that up a little bit later. And this I'll have to do the same here. Flatten that. Okay. So to get that straightened up, again, I'm not doing this. That would chop my hand up. But I'm doing this. Just by bouncing it, like I'm hammering with it on its side, and you can see the cheek bounces. But it's going to cut that. And someone say, well, you could do that with a knife, but yeah, you put the knife down, you pick it up, you lose time. So I'm going to straighten this out a little bit here, doing this sideways business, keeping the blade like that. And then this again. Okay, that straightened up quite a bit. It's still, I'll mess with this later. Okay, now to get this stuff done, that's still a deep dive for a utility spoon. I'd like it to be a little straighter. So I'm going to do that by straightening this handle some here. And then a little bit more here. Good enough. Okay, good enough. Now I'm going to chop this here. right about the midpoint of the bowl, I'm going to do this. Just kind of get a start where I can, and then, many little bugs have been in this wood. I'm looking for black spots that I hope don't show up. Now that's good enough, because when I'm shaping it with the surform, I want to have a little bit of leeway there, so I'm not going to make it a sharp point. I'll turn a little bit, brace at my knee like that, and then good enough. And then to clear this off, instead of doing that and messing it up, right, I'm going to set the blade in there and bounce it along. And then if I am clearing it off using the hatchet, I'll set it at an angle and let it kind of do that slap cut business. And okay, so it's very angular right now, but I'm just trying to get the general shape. Now to do this, I can either hold it up like this, keep my fingers curled out of the way, and go like this. And this is where we get to find out where that black spot goes. And it's still there, and it's got a hole. You can peek through it, so that's not. So we don't want any of that. You can't. Oh yeah, you can. I don't know if you can see that hole in there. I'm going to lower the whole profile down just a shade, because that's not going away in a. There's no reason for me to have to sweat that out. I'm gonna take this down, and this adds a little bit of time to me making a spoon. As long as it doesn't add way too much time. And see, there's that weevils thing going on there. Now, as long as that's just color and not a hole or a weakness that, you know, with use is going to be a problem. But it's close enough. I let that allowance there. I think I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to get rid of that. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take that profile down a little bit with the hatchet. I'll do a little with the hatchet. I'm going to be home free with this spoon. And it's been some loss of time, but not too bad yet. So now to get this out of the way, I'm going to, so I lost that profile line, so I'm going to retrace it here. Okay, so like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this at a bit of an angle. I'm going to score it like that to help control the split. And because I'm going to keep my fingers out of the way and come in sideways, get it started right where I want, like this. And then with this, doing it at the angle so it's not trying to split with the grain, I'll control the cut. And sometimes if you take too big a bite, it'll bind in there. And you just got to remember that with wood, it's like the scripture, you know, and to those who don't have, even what they have will be taken away. It's really not fair, but it works well with wood. If you're dividing the wood too evenly, that's good in basket making, because it's going to make the split just go evenly right down, or with splitting the wood for a spoon. But when you're trying to use it for shaping, make sure that the part you're removing is less than the amount you're taking the wood from. So I'm going back, and it pretty well followed that line there, and it's beveling up a little bit. And on the other side, I'm going to start in here and want it to catch in here. And I'm going to weaken this, because since I've already taken some wood off there, the part I'm going to be removing is going to be significantly, get out of here, much more like the wood behind. So I don't want to have this grabbing more and going where I don't want it. So I'm going to do this. And I'll be watching. There's another weevil hole, but it's in the handle. It doesn't bother me as much. Now it's binding more. I'm going to use an angle still. And then to clear this off, I'm going to start here. So if I'm looking at this thing and then I go like, oh, this is less a utility spoon than a soup spoon, which it's kind of got a little bit more of a cooking spoon, not a utility spoon, but I'll see, because I'm going to have to. Okay. This is blocking and so forth. Now to find out where I am with the rest of this, I'm going to take some off the back here. Okay. So here this is, and I'll hold this at an angle, and instead of doing like straight on, do this kind of sliping motion like this, and in short order it gets the shape done. With this, I'll put it at the widest part and where the bowl runs deepest, and go about to the middle, sometime up it away. So then now I'm really ready to rock and roll with it. I'll dive towards the center, and it looks like I'm making a star or a flower, and someone who works with a chisel will go like, she'd be better off if she'd stop and sharpen that chisel, but I'm not gonna. This should be just curling out, and I'm going to quit talking right now about how dull this is. And after I get this spoon done, I absolutely will sharpen. So the thickness, what you want the spoon to be able to do is be stout enough that it's pretty tough. People do things with spoons that they regret later. I really want them to be useful. So the big thing is to make them the bowl of the spoon just like a bowl. You want it to be as uniform as possible, so when they get wet, they're going to dry more or less the same speed. It's moving over the area, so it'll get rid of that little spot that'll catch food, and also it's already starting to try to want to dig a little ditch there. I got to get out of there. It's green wood, so I'm going to clean up this sharp edge here, and this looks like I could thin it down some more, but right now what I'm going to do is do that later. I'm going to let it dry, take that sharp edge off. So when it's done, it'll have a little bit more of a peak right there because of the shrinkage. But that's going to be a utility spoon that a person's going to really enjoy.
For joining us today at Rural Heritage and RFD TV, where we borrow from yesterday to do the work of today. This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of back-to-the-land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.